Okay, so picture this, a leadership manual that actually forbids you from saying, I'm sorry. Today, we're going to dive into a philosophy of power that is incredibly direct, totally unapologetic, and basically argues that if you're in charge, your job is to act, not to explain.
Yeah, this quote right here gets straight to the heart of it. It's a complete rejection of that modern trend where leaders are always looking for everyone's approval. The idea is simple. Command requires conviction, not a committee vote.
So the big diagnosis here is that leadership has kind of devolved. It's gone from taking ownership of results to, well, performing weakness. Apologies aren't really about fixing a mistake anymore. They've become this political tool to make people feel better, a kind of public submission that actually weakens the whole structure of command. So if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, this philosophy doesn't mess around. It lays out a clear, almost brutally logical set of principles for taking back control. So you ready? Let's get into the rules. All right, rule number 1, and this is a huge one. Power isn't about who you are, it's about who people think you are. See, power only really exists if other people recognize it, and that turns leadership into a very, very disciplined performance. And check out how morality is framed here. Virtue isn't who you are, it's a tool you use. A leader has to look moral and fair to build trust, right? But they also have to be completely free to put that tool down when the situation demands something else entirely. And you can see right here how language is the key to making that separation. See that shift? The preferred column is all about outcomes, structure, and consequences, not personal feelings or ideals. It's about being operationally clear, not putting on a moral show. You know, at the end of the day, people actually value reliability way more than they value being liked. An unpredictable leader creates chaos, and chaos makes people push back. But a leader who is consistent, even if they're harsh, creates a stable world. And that stability, that's a way stronger foundation for power than just being popular. Okay, on to the next rule. And this is probably the one that's going to make some people uncomfortable. We're talking about the mechanics of obedience and the deliberate, calculated use of discipline. And that, of course, leads us straight to that classic Machiavellian question. It's a dilemma that a lot of modern leadership theories try to dance around, but this philosophy just walks right up and confronts it head-on. And the answer it gives is pretty blunt. Being loved is seen as unreliable. It depends on people's moods, on circumstances, but a clear, rational understanding of consequences, now that gets results. It's not about charming people, it's about conditioning them. Now, to be clear, this isn't just a call for random cruelty. Not at all. Fear is presented here as a calibrated instrument, like a surgeon's scalpel. For it to work, any harsh action has to be absolutely necessary, super swift, totally final, and crystal clear. Constantly nagging people just makes you look weak. One single decisive action teaches a lesson that everyone remembers. And again, language is everything. You see that phrase, we're a family here? According to this, that's dangerous stuff because it blurs the lines and weakens the hierarchy. The phrases on the right, they build structure, they create clarity, they maintain order. It's not about scaring people, it's about making sure everyone knows exactly where the lines are drawn. All right, the third rule. Here, we're kind of zooming out from the leader's personal moves to the really big picture, building a long-term, durable strategy. This is about creating a structure of power that can last way longer than any one person. This table lays out the core argument perfectly. Charisma is powerful, for sure, but it's also fragile. It depends entirely on one person's energy, on their constant performance. A system, on the other hand, is impersonal. It's durable. It doesn't inspire emotion. It creates habit. And it can keep chugging along even if the person in charge is, frankly, not very good. So, real, lasting power is achieved when you move authority from a person over to a process. The ultimate goal isn't to be some beloved, indispensable genius. Nope. The goal is to build a machine so well-oiled that you being replaced is just another Tuesday, an administrative detail. So, what's the catch? What does it actually cost a person to wield this kind of power? Well, this philosophy is brutally honest about it. Command has a very high price, and you pay for it with solitude and a whole different kind of responsibility. By its very nature, power cuts you off. It isolates you.
You simply cannot be the commander and also be just one of the pals. That distance isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's essential for clear judgment, for authority, for control. The higher you climb, the lonelier it gets. And that's just part of the deal. And this brings us to the final hard-hitting lesson. A leader has to carry the absolute weight of their decisions and never, ever flinch. Regret is considered a luxury you just can't afford because it shows doubt, and doubt is an invitation for others to challenge you. So you accept the consequences, you learn from them in private, but you never apologize for them in public. Which leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? Is this whole thing just a cold, cynical instruction manual for tyrants? Or is it a brutally honest look at how power actually works once you strip away all the nice stories we like to tell ourselves? That's the question this philosophy really forces you to think about.